Hello, citizens of the internet, and welcome back to another video. It is Thursday, May the 4th be with you. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update video. A few things have come in the mail. I actually have something surprise for tomorrow, so hopefully I'll do another video. But I did want to talk about a few things. This came in the mail. The Grateful Dead Record Store Day, July 29th, 1966. Double album. There is, let me think if I can talk about this without actually thinking about what to say. Okay, so there's basically two kind of shows on here. There's the July 29th, 1966 show, and there's also stuff from the July 30th, 1966. One thing I will say is that this is actually a few things that are factual about this album. This is actually Grateful Dead's one of their first concerts outside of the United States. This was in Canada. They had only been together for roughly a year. I believe they formed in May or April of 1965. So early on stuff, they're still kind of getting their footing. There are some longer jams, I guess. Cream Puff War, Viola Lee Blues, 10 minutes for that one. Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. But you can still tell that they're kind of still kind of finding their footing. Their debut album was still a little ways away from this. So definitely an awesome set, even for probably fans that aren't Grateful Dead fans. This is more sort of the, kind of 60s, mid-60s vibe before psychedelic music sort of really took off. So cool set. One thing I will say, too, for those that are really interested or really like the Grateful Dead, Dead.net does something every Friday and Monday. So they do Jam of the Week every Friday, which is like one, maybe 30 to 40 minute song. Or it's not one song, it's a group of songs. And it's only available for 1 week. And then there's also the taper section, which is you can go back and listen to older ones. But this early part of the show, was actually available either as a Jam of the Week or a taper section. I can't remember. I usually go on their website every Monday and Monday and Friday, and I'll go and I'll sort of download them and just more live music for the iPod. I still use an iPod, and so check that out if you're into that, because like this has been, I guess it's been available, I guess you could say, for a while. Obviously, all this stuff is sort of on archive.org. You can stream it or other things, if you know what I'm saying. So that came in the mail. I also got volume 22 of the Dave's Picks. Sorry, I got to hold that a little bit closer because it's a CD. The Dave's Picks subscription is available 4 times a year, and they usually start the subscription right around November, right around Christmas time. But it's complete shows, so it sort of is they carry on Dick's Picks, I guess, but Dave Lemieux is sort of the tape archivist. But these are great shows. This one's the Felt Forum, 1971. This has both Pigpen and Keith Godchaux, kind of pre, obviously, Europe 72, but you can tell they're starting to get kind of hot. So there's some nice Pigpen jams on this. So sort of a really great set. I think they played there 4 nights, I want to say. That's the other thing I wanted to say about the early Grateful Dead, like the 1966 stuff. Some of that is hard to sort of say. I've seen it listed as the 30th. Some of it's listed as the 29th. So it's kind of that early Grateful Dead stuff is really kind of hard to, before they started really documenting stuff, it's kind of hard to label where the dates are. So sometimes you may find that set was, they will say it's from the other day or from the 30th when really it's the 29th, etc., etc. So just thought I'd show that. Of course, the Cornell show that should be released tomorrow. So I will probably do an unboxing video of that. Of course, Grateful Dead fans don't need to be reminded why that show is so awesome. So, but the best part about this video is today when I got home, Charlie Bear dog treats. Actually, no, it's records. These are from Blake, and I have not looked at these yet. I did open it for the sake of time. this is sent media mail for $14.52. You can get an idea if you've ever sent something media mail how absolutely massive this box is. So I'm going to show these. Hopefully, it's just not a cinder block, but I know you can't send cinder blocks media mail. So let's take a peek and see what we got here. So, packing peanuts, but on the top, we have has some heat right on the top. Here we go. Merle Saunders, Fire Up, featuring Jerry Garcia and Tom Fogerty. So, oh my goodness, Blake, you have spoiled me. This looks pretty great. After Midnight Expressway to Your Heart, Charisma, she's got Soul Roach, Chocolate Pudding, Benedict Ride, The System, and Lonely Avenue. This looks amazing. From 1973, sort of right around that sweet spot for sure. So I'm going to put this on. Blake, this is phenomenal, so thank you so much. He said some of these I may have already had, and the second one, I believe, I do have. It's been a while since I've pulled this out, but let's take a peek at it. Sorry, these packing peanuts everywhere. This is Peter, Paul, and Mary. This is just a super clean copy of this. This, of course, their debut album, 1962. This is really great because this is at the bitter end, the back. I don't know if you've watched my video or I talked about, or if you've read the Glass Orchids, if you will. But David and Anthony David said one of his favorite moments was when he actually touched the brick wall. That's when he played the bitter end when he was in New York. So great album there. The Kingston Trio. This is great. This is the recorded in live performance. So Jon Stewart, Nick Reynolds, and Bob Shane. So this is the Kingston Trio. They're an interesting group of guys. They definitely have a ton of albums. It seemed like they were putting one out like every 3 or 4 months. So when the folk boom sort of happened, so of course made Tom Dooley famous. So very cool. Thank you for that. It has the MTA on that one. Oh, this is great. I do not have this one. So this is the John Fahey, I Remember Blind Joe Death. So I don't really know too much about this one. This is on 1987 on Rounder Records. John Fahey, of course, is an American treasure, much like Pete Seeger. Has Steel Guitar Rag on it. John Fahey has a very interesting story where he sort of was a guy that was sort of kind of stuck in that that 20s blues thing. His first album, he just sort of went and put it in a thrift store, and that of course was the Blind Joe Death album. So very cool. I'm excited to listen to this. All right, so we have, here's another one. This is on Verve Folkways. This is Gene and Doc at Folk City. Gene Ritchie and Doc Watson. Neither one, I guess, need too much of a any type of introduction. But Doc Watson, of course, an amazing guitar player who's blind. Definitely is one of the artists who really carried the folk music movement for sure. So very cool for that one. One I did not have. Okay, here's another one. This looks like an original copy of this. So here is Celebrations for a Grey Day, Mimi and Richard Farina, which, full disclosure, one of my favorite books is a book that Richard Farina wrote called I've Been Down So Long It Looks Like Up to Me, which sort of came around at the right time in my life. Sometimes when you find books and you read them, they sort of tell your story. So, of course, a tragic sort of thing. When Richard had released the book, he was at sort of I think my video froze. Okay, sorry if it stopped. I didn't want to keep talking.
Or re-record this. So yeah, Richard Farina, and he was in his sort of book. I don't know what you want to call it. His release party or whatever, and he jumped on the back of somebody's motorcycle and they crashed and he died. And that was the end of Mimi and Richard Farina. So, well, Mimi recorded some other albums, I think maybe 1 or 2 albums later on.
Pete Seeger. This is on Archive of Folk Music. This is, I think that's what the label is, actually. I have a bunch of these. I don't think I have a Woody Guthrie one, but I don't think I have this one. Yeah, the Everest Records is what it is. So these are great. These are sort of reissues of earlier albums. So of course Pete Seeger, no introduction needed as well. House Carpenter, 3 chord songs. Trying to see what else is on here. In the Evening When the Sun Goes Down and Go Down Old Hannah. Probably the biggest ones. I'd say Patty Works on the Railroad. Very cool. Oh my goodness, yes. All right, so this is sweet. So Jug Band Music and Rags of the South, featuring Maria Mulder and Joff Rifkin, which they were both in the Even Dozen Jug Band, which also had God, what's his name? I can't remember. Dave Von Ronk, and they, of course, Maria Mulder and Jeff Mulder, they went on, and I think Josh Rifkin as well too. They were in the I'm sorry, Jim Keswin Jug Band. So I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't Jim Keswin there. So anyhow, there's some great stuff on here. I've seen this before, and I'm really excited to have this. But it's very cool. Another one on Everest Records. These are great sort of compilations that exist. I think they're just reissues of sort of budget reissues of albums that came out in the '60s that just kind of to cash in on the folk boom of the mid '60s. All right, so this is great. Here's a Folkways Saturday Night San Antonio Tex-Mex dance music. Frank Corrales and Ben Taver King in the Los Folkeros group. This looks pretty sweet. So from 1982, got a nice Folkways in the shrink. So thank you, Blake. Another one that every collection must have. This one in Joni Mitchell Blue. I believe this is Joni Mitchell's second album. I'm not sure offhand. But there's some good stuff on here. Song to a Seagull. So of course Joni Mitchell, she wrote Woodstock, but this is definitely one of the better albums of hers to get. So here's another one that this is the first one that I do have, Blake, but it's definitely a must-have, so I'll probably pass this on, but thank you. Old in the Way. This, of course, was the sort of old-timey jug band, I guess you could say, bluegrass band that Jerry Garcia was in. Pig in the Pen, Old in the Way, Knock on Your Door, Panama Red, probably the biggest one on there. David Grisman was in this as well. John Kahn, Vassar Clements on violin, who was like a crazy violin player, crazy good violin player. So very cool on that. This is a great album. If you don't have this, pick this album up. All right, great. Another one. This is David Grisman, Hot Dog. So David Grisman, of course, was in one of the band's Earth Opera from the Elektra 4000 series. They have 2 albums that are pretty cool. But David Grisman also played mandolin on some of the American Beauty songs. I think also Working Man's Dead, if I remember correctly. So has a pretty big lineage with the Grateful Dead. So okay, this one I don't have. This is cool. This is from looks like it's on the Prairie Home Companion label, or it's from the Prairie. I'm not sure. Powder Milk Biscuit Band. Very cool. So I'm excited to see this. It looks like something local. I don't see any kind of big names on here, so very cool. Thank you. This will be a fun one. Here's another great one. Don't have this one, but this is a great album. So Merle and Doc Watson. Doc Watson put out a ton of albums, and they're all good. So sort of all must-haves. I don't have this one, so thank you. Okay, so the Seldom Scene. The Seldom Scene were on Rebel. They had a handful of albums, but basically a bluegrass band. Very cool. This is another one I don't have, and I'm very excited that you sent me, so thank you. Alright, so the Funky Butt Jazz Band. Oh, jeez. Okay, this looks interesting. So, 1986, local people, I guess, I want to say here. Looks like they're in Woodbury, Connecticut. So this looks fun. Some privately pressed stuff. Very cool. I don't have anything to say about this, so unfortunately, but I'll listen to that. That's great. All right, here's another seldom seen record. So a lot of the I don't know the exact story behind it, but a lot of the bands that were on Rebel, so like for instance the Country Gentlemen, they also released albums on Sugar Hill, which I believe Sugar Hill picked up most of the artists that were on there. I think they basically absorbed all the contracts and things like that. So this one's called After Midnight. Does it have After Midnight on it? It does. Let's take a look and see who wrote it. J.J. Cale. So that's going to be a fun one. So I'm excited for this one. All right, here's another really cool looking one. Mike Aldridge, Dobro. This is on Takuma. Produced by Jim McGuire. Again, don't know much about this one, but this is going to be fun to look. I always look at, I always do the train spotting and look down here and see if there's anybody that I know, and usually that convinces me. I would buy this anyway, so if I saw this record, I would definitely buy it. So, okay, so here is another one by the Seldom Scene. Jonathan Edwards and the Seldom Scene. This is on Sugar Hill in 1985. So these will probably be pretty fun. The whole, Appalachia area, sort of that thing that sort of, the Appalachian thing, the Appalachian Mountains that sort of reach from, West Virginia, very close to where I'm at, and they sort of go and, down into North Carolina and Tennessee and all that. There's just great music that came out of there that's all privately pressed stuff. Here's Doc Watson. This is on Sugar Hill, 1986. Durham, North Carolina is where they were at. Yeah. I'm sure it's a good one. All the Doc Watson albums are great. And I think I want to say this is maybe the first one or the second one. I'm not exactly sure. But the Seldom Scene recorded live at the Cellar Door. Cellar Door, of course, was in Washington, D.C. Miles Davis, a lot of Live Evil was recorded at the Cellar Door. Maybe don't quote me on that. Was it the Cellar Door? Yeah, because I think there was the Cellar Door sessions. If it wasn't Live Evil, it was another album that he did. But I have like a box set. I think it was the Cellar Door. It's been so long since I've listened to it. So very cool. I'm excited to listen to this one. I don't have this one. Double album by the Seldom Scene. Here's another one by the Seldom Scene. So you're really filling a lot of holes here because I didn't have many of their albums at all. So here's another one, the Seldom Scene, At the Scene. Dave Clark 5, Down at the Scene. Wouldn't that be great if that was a cover on here? So, very cool. Alright, well this looks awesome. This is on Rounder Records, number 16. Vassar Clements, Crossing the Catskills, Rounder Records. Corina, lots of good stuff. Norwegian Wood. Very cool. I know exactly what I'm listening to tonight. Thank you, Blake. Now, Blake, you actually, it's funny that you sent me this one because you definitely sent me this one before. Actually, you didn't send it to me. When I met you in Richmond, Virginia, we met at a zine fest. You actually, I listened to this album. It's very weird because it's sort of, the ladies playing sort of like this weird harp, and it's a very interesting sort of new age, sort of ambient. I don't know. It's very strange, and it's just crazy. This is the second one you've given to me, so I'm not sure if you just have a stash of these that you're giving out, every now and again. Okay, what do we have here? Alright, so I have no idea who this is. Dan Arbross. This looks like this is in French. Green Linnet Records. Not sure. So this is looks like he has a 6-string acoustic guitar. All these songs are sort of in French, so I don't know what exactly this is. So very cool. I'll definitely take a listen to this. Oh, here's a fun one. So this is sort of definitely an early one by these guys. The Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, the original Scruggs-style banjo picking in the Foggy Mountain Boys. Cripple Creek's on there, John Henry, Cumberland Gap. So, extremely cool there. One I didn't have. I do have this one. This is a great one, though. This is the Harmony label that I was telling you about. So, I had mentioned that Harmony repressed a lot of stuff. That it was sort of like a budget Columbia line. So this is just Lester Flatt and Scruggs and the Foggy Mountain Boys. So Foggy Mountain Specials on this one. Jimmy Brown the Newsboy. Fun stuff on that one. Oh, here's another one. This is great. With Obi. With the Japanese Obi there. Flats and Scruggs. Kings of Bluegrass Volume 1. Very, very cool. So, that's fun. And another Flat and Scruggs. I don't have this one. This is really cool though. So featuring Mother Maybelle Carter and the Foggy Mountain Boys. So featuring Carter family songs. That's excellent. So this is of course Mother Maybelle played a lot of the guitar for the in the Carter family. So Keep on the Sunny Sog, Foggy Mountain Top, Worried Man Blues, Pickin' in the Wildwood. So there's some fun stuff on here. So that's very cool. Thank you. Let's see. This is another one. This is on Erda Holy Records. It's from 1983. Savoy Ducat? I don't know how. Ducat? Cajun band. So it looks like there's a guy playing the little accordion there. So, very cool. So, here's another Peter, Paul, and Mary one. A Song Will Rise. I'm not sure where this one sort of falls. I want to say maybe this is maybe their third or fourth one, I think. I'm not exactly sure. But produced by Albert Grossman, of course, so it's with Bob Dylan. And there's a couple more. Here is the Kingston Trio. Here's a close-up of the Kingston Trio. So Reuben James is on this one. So very cool stuff here. Another one I didn't have. Oh, here we go. So here is, I do have this one. Run for the Roses, Jerry Garcia. So this was one, I think it was 82. Run for the Roses, of course, the title track is the big one on that. I saw her standing there. Also does the, Knocking on Heaven's Door. That's sort of the album that was on. I believe Betty, so the Betty Boards, Betty helped record some of this stuff. So, oh no, and another one. This is fun. So here is the Garcia with the textured cover. These were every single one of these were was a cover, which was cool. I think this is his second album, I believe. Here's his second one or his third, sort of self-titled. There's the white Jerry Garcia one. That's the red, white, and blue one, I guess you could say. And then this is the next one. I believe this is referred to as Compliments. I want to say is what they call this one. So, very good stuff. Songs of Sea and Shore. This is on Folkways. Stuart Frank, recorded by Ken Mahler at the Mystic Seaport Museum. So, cool stuff here from 1979. Folkways. Oof, oof. Alright, and Richard Thompson. This is one I do not have. Also, Dave Pegg is on this one. Richard Thompson, of course, was in the Fairport Convention and sort of had a little bit of a solo career, I guess you could say. He had more than a little bit of a solo career, but of course, Richard and Linda Thompson. So, very cool. Alright. And Joan Baez number 5. I don't have this one. Joan Baez, I mean, some of her albums are kind of hard to listen to at times. I think there's like, I Still Miss Someone. There are But for Fortune. So there's a Phil Oakes, one of the Phil Oakes classics is on there. I think it was Go Away From My Window. It Ain't Me, Babe by Dylan. So I think this came out around 64, I want to say. I'm not entirely sure. So, all right, 2 more. There's more than that. I'm sorry, lied. Here's the Vassar Clements Band. Looks like this is a promo stamp on it there. It has a cover of Jessica on it by the Allman Brothers. I do have this one. This is great. So, John Jacob Niles, Folk Balladeer, a superb sampling of ballads collected by Francis F. Child in the Appalachians and sung by the eminent American bandleader. So, Child ballads are sort of these are all these sort of songs that were, I guess you could say, collected by Francis Child. And a lot of folk songs are basically based on that. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, but like I think Randy Riley is one. I don't know what's on this. Jimmy Randall is on here, but they're all listed. Child ballad number, whatever. They all have different numbers on them, so that's cool. I actually have the. I have this book. I think I've showed this in past videos, but the Best Love American Folk Songs. This was by John and Alan Lomax, who recorded a lot of the Folkways stuff. I want to say there may be, I don't know if there's any child ballads on here, because most of the child songs are British and European in nature, I guess you could say. So, all right, so cruising in at a half an hour here. I still got there's still a ton more in here. It's getting lighter. I can finally move my leg. This is British and American Murder Ballads. I'm really excited. Look at this. That's a great cover on that one. That's really cool. Washington Records. Of course, murder ballads are, a sort of a type of subgenre of folk music. So these are great. You're spoiling me, Blake. Here's Joan Baez Volume 2. I do have a copy of this somewhere. Again, this has more. These are more like traditional folk songs. Wagner's Lad. Lily of the West, Banks of the Ohio, Barbara Allen, which is pretty much a folk standard. Old Blue, of course, it's on the Anthology of American Folk Music. So this is one Joan Baez album that definitely is worth picking up. You'll see it all the time, but this one is a good one. It does have some redeeming qualities. I know that she takes a bad rap, but this one is a good one. All right, so the American-Swedish Spellman's Trio, Edwin Johnson, Bruce Johnson, and Paul Dahlin, Old Country Folk Fiddlin'. Can't say that I am familiar with this. This is on Rounder Records. Looks like it's a lot of Swedish folk songs, from what I can tell. So, here you go. A short word about Swedish folk rhythms. So that'll be an interesting listen. Here is Act 3, The Seldom Seen, which is their 3rd album. So, cool stuff on Rebel Records. This looks like a later reprint, so I didn't pull out what the earlier one looked like. Maybe, let's see if I can pull that out real quick here. See if this is, I think this is going to be an original one. So, no, this is sort of the mid-period Rebel label. Let me see. Sorry, this stack has sort of traveled on me here. I don't know where that one is. Yeah, we'll forget about it. Here is the Seldom Seen Act 4. San Antonio Rose on there. Daddy Was a Railroad Man. Walking the Blues. It sounds like this will be pretty good. Alright, so here's another one by the Los Pocoleros and Ben Tarifa King on Folkways, Border Bash, more Cajun music. Alright, so here is the Highwood String Band. Not really anybody that I know of offhand. It's on Rounder Records. It says Fire on the Mountain at the top, so I wonder. Let's see here. It doesn't say if it's who recorded that or if it is a Grateful Dead song. So I'm excited to hear if that's the true Fire on the Mountain. And the last record in the box, I think this was just packaging. I'm not sure if there's something in here or not. This is Bright Morning Star, Sweet and Sour. Just looks like this is on Flying Fish. So, cool stuff. Looks like from the 80s. So. Alrighty, that is that. I'm covered in packing peanuts. But thank you, Blake, and thank you for everyone who's watched all 32 minutes of me rambling. We'll see you on Down the Trail.